Hello guys, so Jerry speaking. Welcome to Bedtime Stories, episode number 577. Today with you the two books. The Jimmy Carter book, in dedication to late Jimmy Carter, who passed away at the age of 100, and of course Pope Francis, little golden biography book. So let's read the first one right now, shall we? So we got for us. Jimmy Carter, little golden biography book was written by Michael Johnson, illustrated by Jim Starr. Here we go. Published by a Golden Book New York release, copyright 2025, all reserved. Scene here is Jimmy and Rosamund Carter in the White House in the 1970s. Here we go. James Earl Carter Jr. was born on October 1st, 1924. In small town of Plains, Georgia. Everyone called him Jimmy. His father Earl was a businessman and farmer. His mother Lillian was a nurse. Jimmy had two younger sisters, Gloria and Ruth. When he was 12 years old, his brother Billy was born. Wow, okay. That makes a whole lot of sense anyway for him never goes to be 100 when he died. Well, nowadays, because he was a Plains, Georgia 100-year-old native. In Plains, Georgia. Next page. Anyways, Jimmy and his family live in a large farm where they grow cotton, corn, and peanuts, which I'm allergic to, by the way. They also own a tiny country food store on the property. Folks in town would come to buy everything from soap to sausage. Well, okay. There was always work to do on the farm. Each morning, Jimmy helped by feeding the pigs, which I love pigs, by the way, and cleaning the eggs. In the summers, he turned out all the watermelons so they would grow into perfect shape. Good enough, I hope. Makes sense anyway, so there you go on that, even though it's a great thing for chickens and the pigs. Next page. Anyways, Jimmy also found time to have fun. He rode horses through the woods, jump in the huge piles of straw, and swim in the fish in the pond. Okay? He became good friends with Rachel and Jack Clark, a black couple who worked in the Carter farm. Well, okay. At this time, Georgia was a separated state. That means that the black community was kept separate from the white community. Good enough. But that didn't stop Jimmy from spending lots of time with the Clarks. He helped Mr. Clark on the farm and enjoyed fishing with Mrs. Clark. He often stayed at their house when his parents were away. Good enough, it makes sense anyway. And leads to some of the future presidents of the United States, Jimmy Carter in the 70s. Next page. Anyways, as Jimmy got older, his curiosity about life behind the farm grew. His Uncle Tom was in the U.S. Navy, and he would spend postcards with all the exciting places he would visit around the world. Jimmy wanted to see the world as well. Like me, of course. During his years at Plains High School, Jimmy was an excellent student. He played on the basketball team and was a member of the Future Farmers America. Good enough. Makes sense anyway. At least there's something about it. Next page. Anyways, after graduating from high school, Jimmy decided to join the Navy just like his Uncle Tom. In 1943, he was amended in the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. Jimmy was trained on old battleships and learned how to fly seaplanes. Good enough. In 1946, just weeks after graduating from the Naval Academy, Jimmy married the love of his life, Rosamund Carter Smith. They had the first met when Rosamund was a baby, and okay, and of course, and Jimmy was 3 years old. Jimmy's mother helped deliver Rosamund when she was born, and she brought Jimmy to help her a few days later. Jimmy and Rosamund had 3 sons, Jack, Chip, and Jeff. Their daughter Amy was soon born later in 1967. And that makes more sense than anyway. It was a great idea for presidents and miss it in the first place, future these two, to make more sense than anyway in the 1940s till the respective deaths in 2023 up until 2024. Saddens me, I know. Next page. Anyways, while Jimmy worked on a submariner for the United States Navy, he and his family moved off all around America. They lived in Virginia, Hawaii, California, Connecticut, and New York. In 1953, Jimmy received some sad news. His father had died. Jimmy decided to resign from the Navy and moved back to Plains, Georgia, to run from the Carter family farm. Good enough. As years went on, Jimmy became an active leader in his hometown. Something like that. He volunteered to help resolve issues in schools, hospitals, and libraries. Something like that. Anyway, having grown up in this small sense of faith, Jimmy was also very involved in this local church. His family attended services at Melrose Baptist Church. Both he and Rosalind were deacons there. Jimmy bought Sunday school classes as well. Makes sense anyway, even though it's a great idea for doing that in any way. Even though he's a teacher, alright, and that's great news for him. Next page. Anyways, in 1962, Jimmy experienced as a involvement in the Navy, businessman and community leader, combined with a strong desire to help others, led him run the Georgia State Senate. He won his election and will go on to serve 2 terms as senator. He was also a Senate. Jimmy became known as an independent thinker. He fought for important issues like preparing for government for raising money and ensuring that black Americans had the right to vote. Exactly. In 1966, Jimmy ran for governor of Georgia. He lost that election. He didn't give up. In 1971, he ran again. This time, Jimmy won. Good enough. As governor, he sought to end racial segregation, protect the election, the environment, my dad, and help the state governor run more effectively. Good enough for Carter, at least. At least do something about Jimmy Carter good and make more sense in any way. At least is going to be future president. We will? We'll see. Next page. Anyways, well, after 4 years of governor, Jimmy announced he will be running for president of the United States. Good job. He traveled around the country for almost 2 years, explaining why he was someone voters could trust. Good enough. He his hard work pay off. Jimmy won the election on January 20th, 1977. The peanut farmer from Georgia was sworn in as the 39th president of the United States. Good enough. Afterward, Jimmy Rosalind and their daughter Amy walked in the initial parade to their new home, the White House. Good enough. And that makes more perfect sense when Carter wins the president of the United States. Excellent sense. Next page. Anyways, President Carter accomplished many things. He started a new energy program to help the United States use less oil in the event in solar energy. He even had 32 solar panels installed in the White House. He increased the national park system by adding 15 new parks. He created the Department of Education to improve American schools for all students. Good enough. In foreign affairs, he helped negotiate a peace treaty between Israel and Egypt called the Camp David Accords. Like that. Anyway, good enough makes sense anyway. So, very good not. Next page. Anyways, despite his achievements, Jimmy lost the re-election in 1980. He was disappointed, but he was continuing to work hard and help others even after leaving the White House. He wrote several books, including a children's book that was illustrated by his daughter Amy. Good enough. He and Rosalind founded the Carter Center to improve human rights all around the planet. He also worked with Habitat for Humanity, an organization that builds houses for people in need. Over 4 years, Jimmy and Rosalynn helped build and repair for more than 4,300 homes. Good enough for presidents and their United States homes in Georgia. That's a good idea. Next page. Anyways, in 1999, President Bill Clinton awarded Jimmy and Rosalynn Carr the President of National Freedom for their dedication to humanitarian work. Jimmy won the Nobel Peace Prize, on the other hand, in 2002 for his efforts to find peaceful solutions for the world's conflicts and help advance global human rights. Good enough. When his presidency ended, Jimmy and Rosalynn returned to their hometown, having spent the rest of their lives in Plains, Georgia. They enjoyed from their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Jimmy continued to teach Sunday school in the Maria Baptist Church until 2020. People came from all over to hear him speak. Good enough. Even though it's a good idea because he's a great president. He's a great peanut oil farmer, which I'm allergic to, by the way. I'm allergic to peanuts, sorry. And he's a great governor and Senate. The last page of the book says this: from his humble beginnings on his family peanut farm to his time preserving this country as president, Jimmy Carter's legacy to fighting for human rights with leading with kindness continues to inspire people of all ages. That I agree of. Rest in peace to these two, the former First Lady and President Jimmy Carter and Rosalynn Carter, respectively. So that was a little golden book biography, Jimmy Carter. Now let's move on to, well, when I think about this book, it was amazing. So far this book was a success. I'll cover Jimmy Carter's life and legacy tomorrow on Ocean Friday's episode number 425. Be look up for it, so there you go on that. Anyway, let's read one more book, and that is a little golden book biography, Pope Francis. Let's read that one, shall we? So we got for us. Written by Suzanne Slade, illustrated by Sue Cornison. I pronounced his last name. Sorry. Anyway, published by Golden Book New York release, cover 2024 on reserve. Sitting here is Pope Francis gonna do something. Anyway, Pope Francis is the head of the Roman Catholic Church and is spiritual leader of more than 1 billion people around the planet. Like many people popes before him, Pope Francis lived in the Vatican City, a small country in the middle of Rome, Italy. But he was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, on December 17, 1946, named George Mario. This last name I cannot pronounce. Starts with a B. Sorry. Mario George was my dad. But his Italian immigrant parents. He was the oldest of 5 children. Wow. Makes sense anyway. It was a great idea to name that name and have it make more sense anyway for this whole church. Next page. Anyways, George lives, family live in a large Italian community, Buenos Aires. Both Spanish was the official language in Argentina, which I don't speak Spanish, sorry. Anyway, spoke Italian for their neighbors and friends. His grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins also lived nearby. And on Sunday, George and his family attended their local Catholic church. Afterwards, they enjoyed a big meal with lots of pasta for everyone. George was very close to his grandma Rosa. She had a great faith in God and shared her faith with George by telling him about the saints and teaching him how to pray. Good enough. She reads George's stories, which led his love of books. And she encouraged him to help those in need. That makes more sense anyway. It was a great idea, so very going down. Thank you very much, Grandma Rosa, for doing that to future Pope Francis. Next page. Anyways, George was a good student. His favorite subject was science. He wanted to dance, especially the tango. After school, George played soccer with his friends at the nearby park. Good enough. As a teenager, George attended school to learn about food nutrition. The more he worked in the laboratory and performed tests on food. In the afternoon, he took classes at cemetery and other subjects. Good enough makes sense anyway. It's a great idea for George's kid friends. Q and L and buttons. Even though it got older now. Next page, anyways. One spring day, when George was 17 years old, he went to his neighborhood church and was surprised to see a prize he had met before. And as they talked, George had a feeling that he should commend his life to God. The feeling was so strong, he decided that one day he would become a priest. That I agree with that. You know, it makes more sense anyway. So there you go. Next page. Anyways, 2 years later, George entered the cemetery school that teaches people to be priests. He studied and learned more about God, his faith, and religion. When George was 21, he became sick with pneumonia. Scary, I know. The illness damaged his lungs. To save George's life, a doctor removed his part of one of his lungs. Scary, I know. He had been a long and painful recovery, but that difficult experience strengthened his faith of God. I just feel painful for George at this point forward. So there you go on that. Next page. Anyways, George wanted to be a special kind of priest, called a Jesuit. Okay? Jewish priests, believe education and learning about are important. They chose to live a simple life, something like that. Spend little money on themselves and giving the people in need. The lifestyle felt right for George. To become a Joseph, George had to study for a long time. He attended schools in Chile and Argentina for several years. He also taught in religion schools. The students liked his sense of humor. I agree with that 1,000,000%. So there you go on that. At least do something about it. So there you go on that. I learned some life lessons about Pope Francis after all that happening. So there you go. Next page. Anyways, in 1969, George became a priest, and people began calling him Father Baraggio. Wow, okay. As a priest, he preached as Mass on Sundays. He spent much of his time helping the poor, the sick, and the elderly. His kindness and prayers each eased their suffering. Good enough for their priest thing. So there you go, and that at least do something about it. So yeah, that's one of the popes anyway. Next page. Anyways, Father Baraggio became a bishop in 1992. His assignment was to be help priests in Baraggio areas. He also visited families living in incomes area of the city, something like that. He listened to their problems, blessed their homes, and gave their homes, something like that. 6 years later, Baraggio was named Archbishop. Wow, okay. Buenos Aires. An Archbishop, he was no more than responsibilities, but anyway, this kind heart did let him forget about people in need. Okay? Baraggio was named as a cardinal in 2001, but he continued to live in the Buenos Aires, but it's now his job included assisting the Pope, leader the entire Catholic Church, and in 2013, Pope Benedict the 16th, announced he was too old to serve as Pope. Baraggio and other cardinals gathered in the Central Chapel in Vatican City to discuss who should be the next Pope. Then they voted, and that is, of course, Pope Francis. So that makes more sense anyway. So there you go on that. at least do something about it. No mind I do. Next page. Anyways, after votes were counted, while smoke rose from the central capital chimney, that meant the new pope having been elected. It was Borracho. The crowd cheered. Every newly elected pope chose a new name for himself. Borracho chose Francis after Saint Francis and Ashe, who devoted his life for helping those in need and care for animals. Good enough. Pope Francis was the first pope to pick the name Francis. But those who weren't it's only first. He was the first pope from South America, and he was the first Jewish pope. Good enough. At least do something for him becoming pope in the church. At least do something about it. Next page. Anyways, we're almost done here. Anyway, Pope Francis is the most powerful person in the Catholic Church. He continues to live as he always has, simply instead of moving his Russian palace, where popes usually stay, he chose to live in his 2-room apartment. Pope Francis always has a busy schedule. On both days, he gets up early to pray for 2 hours. He then performs morning mass in the San Marco Chapel in Bedtime. After breakfast, he started his daily work. Midday, discuss projects to improve local commands and meets with world leaders. Including the scene here is former President Barack Obama, and visits him when he was President of the United States in the 2010s. So there you go on that. Next page. Anyways, Pope Francis is known for his people popes like that, because he loves to care for all people. Good enough. He offers advice for presidents and arrest prisoners. Something like that. Anyway, he is the first pope to invite women to share their votes and opinions about important church meetings. In Vatican City, he always goes to St. Peter's Square to greet the large crowds who gather to see him. Sometimes he waves them with his mobile and a special vehicle that's just made for the Pope. Good enough from that. And that makes more sense anyway. It was a great idea to have a Pope mobile. So there you go. Last bit of the book says this. Pope Francis provides hope and peace and inspiration to people around the planet. And that is a good idea to make. So there you go on that. And that is good examples of that. So that was little book biography about Pope Francis. What do you think about this book? It was amazing. So far this book was a success. Hang on. Anyways, that was Bedtime Stories episode number, man, 577. Hope you enjoyed. Same it's gonna be Bedtime Stories episode 578, which will be about Avatar, The Last Ember, I Am Corona, and finally, a local book biography book about Martha Stewart. Now, man, excuse me, I gotta end this episode, post on social media, upload on YouTube, and I gotta get ready for bed. Because after this is over, I gotta get ready for my Friday show tomorrow, and get ready for some things. Till next time, so just by baby, we'll be out. See ya.